Hi guys, it's the Recoil of Life, and look who's back.
Hi guys.
April's back, and she's gonna tell us what it was like being in Minnesota. More so Minnetonka, right?
Minnetonka, yep.
Because not all Minnesota is apparently the same. And that's
our
cat.
cat is here too, just so you know. Yes, so Minnetonka is like a small suburb of Minneapolis. If you look on a map, Minneapolis just looks huge. But you'll see a bunch of smaller areas that kind of connect into it. I have been assured by everyone I interacted with that the Minnetonka, Hopkins, Bloomington, Minnesota area is not the rest of Minnesota. So if you just go there, you can't base your opinion of Minnesota off of just one area. That being said, I've got kind of a double-sided opinion on what all I experienced while I was there. It's a great state. It is the land of 10,000 lakes, and I can believe it. Because even just driving in from Iowa, just on the map, you'd see random lakes just appearing next to you out of nowhere. It is cool because once you hit Minnesota, there's a radio station for anglers. Now, like obviously Minnesota is very big on fishing and outdoor activities when the weather permits it. Although some Minnesota people think even winter is a great time for outdoor activities. But the area I went to was more city. It was a lot more city. So it still had its parks, you still had your lakes and your ponds everywhere, way more than I'm used to. But you didn't get a whole lot of what you would expect from Minnesota. Because I had the idea in my head beforehand of how Minnesota would be, and I was kind of in for a reality check when I got to more of the city parts of it. It wasn't horrible by any means, don't get me wrong. It's a great state to visit, and if you like more city activities, like more clubs and bars, if you like shops and stuff like that, then the Minnetonka area is a good area to go. It's right next to Bloomington, Minnesota, which has Mall of America. I did not get to that just because I figured the holiday season is not the right time to experience Mall of America. But if you like more of the city stuff and like the high-end activities or restaurants even, that's where you should visit. If you like more of the outdoor stuff, I've been told you need to go further into Minnesota to go see the rest of Minnesota. But I loved the parks, and I'll have pictures at the end of this of the different parks that I found. But I had an issue with some of the attitude of some of the people in the Minnetonka area. Because Minnetonka is almost like a miniature, I almost want to say a miniature Chicago or a miniature New York and like the fancier side of things. So you get a lot of people that feel like they are better than everyone else because they've got more money to spend. Prices are higher depending on what you're looking at. And a lot of the restaurants are just a little more fancier and a little more, it's better to get a reservation to make sure you have a spot type thing. But it's balanced out by some of the people I interacted with were great. You know, the people I was working with and some of just the everyday people that don't think they're better than everything else, they were super friendly and really awesome to deal with. So you had a good balance going of the good and the bad. But I would say if I go back, I'd go back just for the parks. That was my main thing, was the trails, the lakes, get away from the city. I'm definitely not a big city girl. I figured out I easily get overwhelmed by too many buildings and way too many people in one area.
So what did you think of the laws there?
I like the laws. The laws are great, especially for theft. Like if you're shoplifting, if you're doing any kind of theft, that is, no matter the price, it is prosecuted as a federal offense. So even if you steal a candy bar, you're gonna get prosecuted. So those that would come through the mall and be like, oh, I'm just window shopping, and you'd see them trying to take $300-400 worth of clothes with them. Well, it's not just a slap on the wrist and you get to walk away. There's a police station attached to the mall, and either security or the police would arrest you, and they didn't care your age. So you could be a kid and they're still gonna arrest you. And that's still on your record. Their gun laws are great. You know, it's a permit state for concealed carry, of course, and then you're allowed to open carry as long as you live in that state. Outsiders have to get a permit, with the restriction being of like the usual restrictions of the malls, federal buildings, that kind of thing. And just their laws overall are friendly. One thing I learned quickly was you are required to be hands-free while driving with your phone. They will pull you over. So if you're driving into Minnesota, you can't pick up your phone while you're driving to glance at it, even at a stoplight. You have to have some kind of hands-free device, and then it's like you can do your navigation, or like just a quick tap on something, but they don't want you reading a book, playing a game, watching a movie. You'll get a ticket for that, and it's a pretty steep price for those tickets.
How much would you say it would be again?
I was told that one could get up to $2,000 for a ticket, just for picking up your phone or doing something on your phone.
Yeah, so no distracted driving.
Right? And in Minnesota, you really don't want to drive distracted because then traffic kills you.
Did you say it was some of the worst drivers?
Yeah. I told him in a phone call, I was like, if I had to compare Illinois drivers, Iowa drivers, and Minnesota drivers, I thought Illinois would win. Sorry, Illinois, you got knocked into third place on that one. Minnesota wins for by far the worst driving I have ever experienced so far. I'm kind of afraid to find out who could beat out Minnesota.
Europe. With all that rage.
Right. But no, a lot of the Minnesota driving, you had some good ones, but a lot of the driving I saw, it was, yeah, I get it around here, I'm going to turn without a turn signal, and I'm not going to stop at a stop sign. But Minnesota, that area was bigger. I'd have to double check their population, but like their population for just one small suburb was like double the amount of Davenport. So if you don't stop at a stop sign, you're like tripling your risk of getting hit by someone because it's their turn to go and you didn't stop. And for the record, if you're in Minnesota, for the love of everything, turn your lights on at night. You have wildlife. I saw 4 different deer get hit while I was there. And I swear it was by the same car.
But you went and seen some of the nature trails?
Oh yeah. That's like, I'm a big nature person, as you know, so it's like, when I'm overwhelmed because there's just way too many people around me, I have to find something. Just literally, like, my hotel was about a mile from Lost Lake Park Trail. It was about a 1.5 mile trail, which I didn't know if there was parking by the trail, so I walked to the trail. And then I walked the trail. So I got like a 3 mile, 4 mile hike in by the time I was done. But you go along the trail and it gives you a mountain bike option or a trail. And then eventually it gets you to this gorgeous little lake. Just really peaceful. You don't hear the city around you at all. And you don't really see a lot of people. You got spots to fish. You can relax and it just lets you breathe. And then just in general, you could literally go a couple miles down the road in any direction and you would find a park with a lake and a trail. They have one that I'd almost compare to, if you live around in Davenport, we have Scott County Park. They have one that's similar to Scott County Park, except that it's bigger. And then they've got a beach and a lake you can swim on, and then a fishing lake. They've got a paved trail, but then they also have the nature trails that split off and go for miles. And you come across little hidden lakes. I didn't go across all of it because it started raining on me the day that I went there. But I think I did a good 4 mile hike on that one alone. Legs hurt.
I bet.
But it was worth it.
So, how was some of the customers there?
The customers, anyone that works in retail is going to understand this one. You've got your great customers, and then you've got the customers you wonder what's wrong with them. We have the great ones who are just like, they know our policies, they've shopped with us enough, they're fine. But then you've got the customers that, I can't even say they're Karens because they go beyond being a Karen. And that's kind of hard to do. But it was little things like getting told, well, you're past our return policy date and you don't have a receipt, so you can't get your money back, but we can exchange it for a similar item. And they would just lose their minds because, well, I don't want that. I want my money back. Know your return dates. Screaming at us does not help. Getting mad because we won't change the policy for you does not help your situation. It either gets you kicked out, or once you leave, it just gives us a great story to talk about later. Stressing out the people helping you because you screwed up, to me, is pointless. Most notably, we had a lady, a couple ladies actually, bring their kids in. And he mentioned this in another video. Both sets of kids, the parents are shopping. Different issues with each kids. Lord help us, different issues. But one lady brought her 2 kids in. They're shopping. Get up by the front register. We had some candles on display. Because we don't sell, our store didn't sell a lot of home goods. We sold a few. While she's on the phone waiting in line, they're taking the candles and throwing them at each other. Mind you, I managed to get one kid out of the way before the candle hit him. And another coworker got the other one out of the way. But the mom got mad because she got charged for the broken candles. We're like, well, your kids threw them. And she was upset, because we had the candles in the kids' reach. And it's our job to make sure her kids don't get into the candles. Which, no, it's not. And then she shouldn't be charged for candles falling. There's a difference between your kids picking them up and throwing them at each other versus a candle getting knocked over. We're not going to charge you for that. But when your kids are deliberately throwing them, you're going to get charged. It's that simple. And then the other one, she had her kid, wasn't very old, watch her stuff while she was trying stuff on. We told her, something could happen to your kid. Like, what if someone comes along and tries to kidnap their kid because they just see your kid standing there? Well, it's your job to make sure nothing happens to my kid while I shop. which that is one of the first times I had heard that kind of idea, so I was really lost at why she thought we were babysitters. Like, you brought your kid in, it's your job to watch your child. Sure enough, a little later, person comes along and just grabs the girl arm and starts to take off with her. She does the right thing by drawing attention to herself when we stepped in because we recognized that that's not her parent. But the mom's opinion of it all was, well, it's your fault that this happened because you weren't watching her. And we're like, that's not our kid. It's not our responsibility. You as a parent have to watch your child. Well, what good are you guys? Again, we're doing our jobs. We're just in customer service. We're not childcare.
Right.
That was one of the first times I'd heard that attitude, and I've never heard that around here. No, to me, I'm like, that's a very entitled attitude that not everyone demonstrated. I had some great people. But they're the ones that stick out because they're the ones that baffle you.
So what did you think of the Vikings fans? Oh, just to let everybody know, she's a Bears fan.
I am. And so I could be comfortable in my own hotel room at night. I took my Bears blanket that I own because I knew there was a couch and I might want to sit on the couch and wrap up in a blanket. Let me start off by saying, while I am a Bears fan, I don't have anything against the Vikings. So don't come after me hating on me for that, because I don't. Like, they play their game, they're fair, they're not known for cheating. If they win against the Bears, okay, then they won. If they lost, it's a miracle, but hey, they lost. I mean, so I have no real issue with the Vikings. Most Vikings fans, okay, a little fanatical occasionally, but not horrible. Except for a couple of the housekeeping staff that I interacted with who found out I was a Bears fan and had a super huge issue with that. Because apparently that's the worst thing in the world, and how dare I be in Minnesota. And I should switch over to the Vikings. I'm sorry, Minnesota, I don't live there. I'm not switching over. I'm going to stay loyal to my Bears, no matter how bad they do.
As you should with any of your favorite teams.
Right? So, I don't know. I had a few Viking fans that were just very, like, in your face. It's Vikings or nothing, and how dare you be against the Vikings. And I'm just like, that's not the attitude I would expect. Like, Minnesota's known for being friendly. I didn't always see that from Vikings fans. And on a personal note, I thought Iowa could go a little nuts over Hawkeyes during a game, but I think the Vikings can go a little insane over the Vikings during a game.
Mm-hmm. Now, the nicest place I've been with any NFL or college fans was Wisconsin. They were like the nicest people I've dealt with, especially when it came to their teams. If you had a different team, they respected that. They didn't bully you down, where apparently Minnesota does, depending on the people, and Iowa has. Iowa does not have a professional team, but we do have the Iowa Hawkeyes and the Cyclones. I'm going to say the Cyclones, because according to certain Hawkeye fans, the Iowa Cyclones don't exist. When they do, they're also an Iowa team, so please acknowledge that. We all have to stick together. But, yeah, Wisconsin is the nicest place I've dealt with when it comes to NFL teams. The Illinois people with Chicago, no, there's a reason why I don't like the Bears and their fans. In Iowa, with the Hawkeyes and Cyclones, I've met nice Cyclones fans. I've met some very rude Hawkeye fans. Why do we have to be like that? Yeah, I get it. I harass my sister because she's a Bears fan and I'm a Dolphins fan. I'll admit
He
that.
harasses me over that too.
Yeah, but it's all fun and games.
Yeah.
I'm not purposely, belittling somebody or trying to be mean or hurt their feelings or put them down. I'm just playing around, and they know that.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to some Bears fans, y'all need to relax. We have the right to say things about your team, especially if you're being rude to us. So don't get mad if you're being rude to us because we say what our teams are and then we be rude back. Because it is a two-way street.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's enough of that.
I will say when it comes to the Vikings, apparently McDonald's partnered with the Vikings in Minnesota. So any McDonald's you go to, any drinking cup will have the Vikings on it. Which I am all for community support.
Can we do that in Iowa though with the Hawkeyes and Cyclones?
Yeah, like why can't McDonald's do that? Yeah, we're not professionals, but come on.
Right.
If you're gonna support the Vikings, then you should support every other team in your area.
Right.
That's kind of cool. At least do a limited time thing.
Right.
And I will admit with the Viking theme that was in the area I was in, I went past a random business and I didn't get a video of it because I was driving every time. There was like a random business that just had a giant Viking boat sitting in their yard. And I'm like, I will admit that is kind of cool.
Well, apparently someplace there's a giant Viking statue.
That is cool. Wish I
Yeah.
could have seen that. And I don't know if you're from Minnesota and you see this video, please answer this question because no one ever could for me. Is it normal for your mascot to just run down the side service roads in full costume, just jogging? Is that how he gets in shape, or was that just a one-time thing? I wasn't even by the stadium, but I was about 10 minutes from the area where the stadium is, apparently. I'd gotten lost. That's how I ended up there. But I'm driving and I look over and there's this guy, or girl, I'm not sure, someone in a full Viking mascot costume just jogging down the side of the road. Didn't know if that's something you see every day. Because I wish every mascot out there did something like that. That'd be a cool photo opportunity.
So what do you think of the restaurants there?
So, as a side note, I did a lot of research in the restaurants, but because I was on a very tight budget, I couldn't actually eat at a lot of the restaurants. But I was there for Thanksgiving. Of course, being on my own, I was trying to find something to do for Thanksgiving, so I was looking up restaurants because I like food. Who doesn't, really? They've got a lot of restaurants, don't get me wrong. Like, you have a very diverse restaurant field there. Everything from Thai food, Mexican, to some Russian places, and some Indian places, and Pakistan places even. It's all there. I will say there's some places from the South that are missing, though. You need some, Southern food represented in Minnesota.
Was it easy at the restaurants to find traditional, not odd, traditional Thanksgiving food?
No. So I'm going to put this out here. I looked up about 15 different menus for Thanksgiving. I'd see everything from roasted chicken prepared by a chef with these 13 different side options and smoked salmon and steak. I'm like, okay, steak I can handle. There was only a couple that listed turkey. And I understand because you have a wide cultural variety there. Not every culture celebrates Thanksgiving. But for those of us that do, make sure we're represented. I did end up finding somewhere for Thanksgiving. I went to Perkins,
I wish we had one here.
right? A nice little restaurant and bakery, you know. I think there's one in Des Moines, but I think that's our closest one, unfortunately. And that's,
Yeah, Des Moines is pretty far in our state from
Yeah.
where we are.
yeah, it's a good 3 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
And with Perkins, that was like you could go to any suburb town in that area and there was a Perkins, or at least two. And they had like a little holiday dinner of like actual turkey breast, including skin, some darn good stuffing, mac and cheese, and a little tiny side of cranberry sauce and a piece of pie. At the time for Thanksgiving, it was like $15.
What'd you think of their pies? Did you think it was better than Village Inn?
Oh heck yeah! If Perkins could figure out how to ship their pies, I'd be ordering them for our holidays. I thought Village Inn was good. I thought like Marie Callender frozen pies were good. Then I tried a Perkins pumpkin pie and I realized Perkins somehow knows how to really get the flavor in there. Village Inn is a decent pie, but Perkins just has like twice the flavor of Village Inn. You know, I'm like, that is one thing if I would drive to a Perkins just to pick up some pies.
Perkins prices are actually really good too, especially compared to Village Inn.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing I wish we had a Perkins. Nice people,
Mm-hmm.
great prices, great food.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know, they really they know how to be nice to the customers and still keep their cool when they get aggressive customers. And they give you a family environment. And for someone who was on their own for Thanksgiving, I needed that. You know, it was a welcoming environment. They didn't look at you odd because you were by yourself. It was just, here, come on in, have a seat, you know, checking on you, talking with you. It was nice. But their restaurants overall, I did try some coworkers' tacos from a local taco place. I'm gonna say that you guys have some interesting food choices and some interesting ideas on what tacos are. I never found a pizza that I liked. I'm gonna say that. I tried a couple different pizzas. No. I go back to Minnesota, I might not be trying pizzas again. Otherwise, if you're looking for a variety in foods, check out the areas, especially by Minnetonka, Bloomington, and Hopkins. You're gonna find a lot of variety of restaurants. It's just finding food that you like.
And can afford.
Yeah, that's the thing. That part of the area is like I've said before, it's a little more high end and their prices match it. There was a local sports bar that I checked their menu and never went to. For 4 chicken tenders, side of fries, and an appetizer of cheese balls with marinara sauce. It'd come out to $24 before you added a drink. For a sports bar. And I'm like, are these like gigantic chicken tenders? No, they're like Applebee's size chicken tenders. Slightly smaller actually.
So banquet?
Yeah.
More like their chicken nuggets?
Yeah. Yeah, so to me I'm like, it's not worth it. You know, I'm sure somewhere in like the actual Minneapolis city, there might have been more affordable restaurants. I wasn't dealing with the traffic to figure that out.
So, would you recommend Minnesota?
Minnesota as a state, I would recommend. as long as you know what you're getting into. If you want outdoor fishing, they do have some ski resorts and snowboarding. Which I didn't know places did this, but apparently if it doesn't snow soon enough, they put their own snow down. So I call it frosting the mountains, but they were setting up their ski slopes with snow.
And apparently a Iowa heavy snow is a Minnesota flurry.
Yeah. I was informed by a few locals that Iowa doesn't know what snow is, even though we're not that far from Minnesota.
Right, and we can get some very bad amount of snow at any given time.
Right. We get similar weather, but according to them, we just get flurries of light snow and we don't know what snow is.
Right.
I'm like, okay guys, if you say so. But overall, I'd recommend the state. Just do your research. Big time.
If you're one of those uppity people, go where all the uppity people are. Don't ruin the lives of nice people.
Right.
But if you're a laid back people like us, enjoys the outdoors, likes fishing, camping, doesn't like a whole lot of people, go to the outskirts of the big cities where there's more wildlife and stuff to do that to your liking. Don't go into the big city because apparently even their Dick's Sporting Goods has a teeny tiny amount of fishing stuff. They have other sporting goods stores where you can get the fishing stuff, and apparently that's where everybody goes. But that's because Dick's Sporting Goods there in the mall does not have very much fishing stuff at all.
Right. Yeah, the Ridgedale Center Mall, because apparently there's 3 malls in that area alone. You got Bloomington, Minnesota has Mall of America. And then Minnetonka, which is right next to Bloomington, has Ridgedale, where I was. And then I found it on accident but never explored it. Another town right next to us has the Southdale Center Mall, or Southridge. Apparently they need that many malls. But Dick's Sporting Goods, very tiny. The store is big. It's a 2-level store. But their fishing section is
ridiculously small.
Like half of a wall of fishing line, 3 or 4 rows of baits and stuff, and then a very small selection of fishing poles and rods and reels. Well,
fishing pole is a rod.
Yeah. I mean, they're cool because they got the rock wall on the 2nd floor and they have an ice rink. You can't just use it any time of day, of course. You have to check for their open skate days. And then they'll host community events on it and that. But it's kind of cool. I've never seen one with an ice rink. But at the same time, I'm like, how are you a sporting goods store when fishing is a sport and you just don't have a lot of fishing stuff?
If any of you Minnesota people are watching and you want to go to another big mall, provided, Mall of America is supposed to be the biggest mall there is, but come to Coralville or Coral Ridge, Iowa, we have a hell of a mall there. And it is big, and it's my favorite mall, but it's like 3 to 4 hours away from us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a treat for us when we go there. She's never been there yet, but I've been there maybe twice in my life. I loved it, especially their sporting goods store named Shields. Especially if you're looking for a gun, that's the place to go.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a hell of a mall. I had another question. I can't think of it now.
I hate when that happens. I will say overall, I would go back to Minnesota. But I would not go to that area except to visit the co-workers I trained with. And that would literally be like a stop in for a day, show him a couple of the parks I think he would like, and then we'd head out and find other parts of Minnesota to explore.
Oh, do people know styles there? Like clothing styles? What's the fashion like there?
So fashion. So I was training and getting ready to work in a clothing store. So we get a lot of fashion stuff. I don't know if it's going to be the same here, but for there, the fashion was very much kind of a variety, but a lot of it for like teenage up to the higher 20-something crowd was a lot of grunge shimmer. So you'd get like sparkly tops and then like the carpenter pants from like the 90s, which I love that those are back.
So on the top half, they liked looking like disco balls. Or glitter machines.
Right. I know it's starting to switch over a little bit when I was leaving, but it's still a lot of like girly on top and then a little more grunge on the bottom. Ripped jeans still, the carpenter pants with all the pockets, and just a mix. For the women and people, kind of, I would say 30s and up, pretty much. It's a little more classy, but still some shimmer and sparkle in it. Some of your taste, I questioned. Everyone went nuts over this dress for the holidays. It was like a boxy dress, didn't have any shape to it. It just, from your shoulders down, it hung on you.
It looked like a long, furry purse.
Kinda. But then it was all like sparkly, and then the back of it was kind of an open back with a big giant black bow in the back.
Oh, that one.
That one, yeah.
Yeah.
We sold that for around $80-something when it wasn't on sale. If it was on sale, it was closer to $30 or $40. We sold out of that dress within the first couple days of having it up, but we have to keep our mannequins in a certain style for so long before we can switch them. And I guess policy. And no, you couldn't take the clothes off the mannequin. So don't ask retail places to take the clothing off the mannequins.
Speaking of mannequins, according to the one store with one person, what's a lumberjack look like?
Oh, Lord.
Provided this person was not like us. He was, well, let's just say gay.
He was, and he fully admitted that. We have no issue with that. It's just he was very city. How to say this? Citified, pretty much. So, like, for him, this lumberjack was very, he wasn't a lumberjack at all.
Well, he had the hat.
He had
with the
hat.
flaps,
Yeah.
but a dressy plaid shirt.
Yeah, a very, like, city dressy plaid shirt.
Right, with gay tight jeans, very tight jeans, with loafers.
Yeah.
According to him, that's how a lumberjack is.
I had stopped. I wish I'd gotten a picture of it, but I didn't. But I had stopped at a store that I thought might have clothes that would work for him. And I'd seen their display, and I was looking at it, and they're like, they had a sign in the window saying the lumberjack look. And I'm like, asked the guy, I'm like, what lumberjack dresses like this? The plaid shirt and a hat? Yeah, of course. Maybe if they're dressing up for a night after work or something. But the jeans, I'm like, those are like super skin tight, skinny jeans that you can't move in. I'm sorry, I don't know any outdoorsman who's going to go do lumberjack stuff wearing loafers that don't protect your feet.
No, they're going to be wearing boots. Tough boots.
And he was sitting there insisting that this was his idea of a lumberjack.
Well, you're wrong.
And I didn't know what I was talking about.
That he's from Minnesota. Of course he knows what a lumberjack is. No, sorry, you don't.
He ended up, because he actually got quite rude with me, he ended up getting in trouble. I'm not going to go into full detail on that, but just that he got quite insulting and quite rude about it with me. And he got into trouble for just how he was acting towards a customer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because he kind of implied the fact that what was I even doing there, because I clearly didn't have the money to even be there.
If you're a business, don't judge people on how they look.
No, I've seen some of the richest people out there in town that have the most money dress in the oldest of looking clothes because it's comfortable.
Right.
So if I'm looking in your shop, chances are I've got some kind of money to spend.
Right.
Granted, I was window shopping that day, but still, don't insult me like that.
Unlike me, where I have no money, and I just go in there and kill time and see what you all have.
Right. But yeah, no, they ended up changing out their display. Because I think word got back to some other people about my comments about the fact that that's not a lumberjack. And they ended up changing their display and just changing their little theme a little bit to be a little more matching the area. But I was like, you can't call something call it the city lumberjack at least. Or inspired by lumberjacks.
Yeah.
But you can't flat out say, oh, it's a lumberjack look. Because I'm going to point out to you that I can pull up pictures of lumberjacks and none of them are wearing jeans tight enough to show off their privates.
Ew. Ew.
Oh, but no, that was interesting.
Is there anything else?
Overall, I would say watch out for some of the fish.
Oh yeah, there's these. Apparently, according to her, there's these ponds and lakes that you have to come prepared no matter what. And what I mean by prepared is steel leader.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're just going there for a bass or a crappie or bluegill or catfish, there's a high chance you could catch an alligator gar.
Who will go after your bait while you're catching it.
Right.
You can be reeling it in and you might have something chasing you.
And apparently they have an attitude and think they're real alligator and will try to attack you while you're on land.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. That kind of made me hesitate. Because I was going to get a day's fishing license and go fishing while I was there just to say I fished in Minnesota. And then I was warned about that. I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I'll wait until summertime when I've got him with me or something. We go together.
Mm-hmm.
That way, if I've got problems, I've got someone that can help me.
Yeah, I'll get the longest pliers out there.
Because when it comes to fishing, I like fishing, but I am by no means an expert at fishing. So I like having backup with me in case I don't know what to do.
And if there's some of you that aren't familiar with gar, let's just say they have a really long mouth.
Teeth.
Filled with very sharp, dangerous teeth. And can rip you in half if they get a hold of you.
And yet, they're considered something that if you can catch it right, you get a picture with. I'm not taking time for that picture. I'm sorry. That's me, though. That's me. And if you decide to ice fish there, check where you're ice fishing. Some of their ponds and smaller lakes have some kind of aeration system in place that makes it to where the ice would be thin and unstable.
Yeah, so if you go there to ice fish, maybe research and ask around before you go on it.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to risk it and then drown. That would not be good.
No, I don't think Minnesota wants that news.
No. Idiot drowns because he didn't research.
Right. But yeah, overall it wasn't a bad trip.
How would you rate it compared to Iowa?
That's actually kind of hard. That is actually kind of hard. I hate to say that, but...
Okay. How would you rate Minnetonka to where we live in Davenport?
Worse.
Worse? With crime?
I think Davenport has a higher crime rate. Minnetonka, I didn't hear too much crime within Minnetonka, but I have been told by people that live there that Minneapolis is worse than Davenport with crime.
Watch your cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Apparently there's a high theft rate down there, which is why Minnesota is not, they're cracking down and they're fed up with all this.
Oh yeah. They're getting to the point where it's like, if you're gonna do any kind of crime, we're gonna get you for it.
Yeah. Which, good. Do it. Maybe more people would think.
Right?
I wish
Iowa.
Yeah, I wish Iowa was like that. That's why I said it in the last video. Iowa is a little too relaxed when it comes to the criminals.
Mhm. Comparing Davenport to Minnetonka, population-wise, Minnetonka is worse. Like, okay, here in Davenport, you can call to work and say, hey, I'm supposed to be in at 12:30, but I'm stuck in a traffic jam. That could be maybe 10 or 12 cars. Okay, Kimberly Road by McDonald's, that can get pretty backed up. So that might be a 20-minute delay.
Right.
You know, Minnetonka, Hopkins, Bloomington, Minnesota area, they have electronic signs up on the highway that will tell you, you know, so long until the main freeway, and that can go anywhere from a 20-minute delay to an hour delay or more. Because their traffic jams are legit. You better have a full tank of gas and some good music playing. Because you're there for a while.
Yeah.
I managed to avoid that by mostly taking the route that avoided the highways when I could. But to get to certain places, you kind of have to get the highway unless you want to add 20 minutes to your route. Which baffles me on that, but... yeah, no. So comparing that to each other, Minnetonka's worse. Nature-wise, Minnetonka is better than Davenport because you had like 5 parks within a 3-mile radius from the hotel.
Let's just say Minnesota in general is better than Iowa in nature.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's nothing nature in Iowa. Iowa has a lot of nature stuff. But when it comes to fishing and other stuff, Minnesota has us beat.
Right. You know, Minnesota will do their cities and stuff, but within their cities, they still incorporate more nature.
Right.
More parks, more places to sit and relax. But you need that. But overall, I would say as much as Davenport has its crime and doesn't have as much nature, it's a smaller city than Minnetonka, Hopkins, and that area. So for me, it's better to be back home.
Right.
Because that was just...
Especially if you're unfamiliar with it.
Yeah. I was starting to learn my way around, but... No, I'm good. Oh, and a side note. Research the laws for the highway before you go to Minnesota. Because you can't just merge on the oncoming traffic on the highway. You have to pay attention to the flashing light, and if it's green, you're good. If it's yellow, you have to do it one car at a time.
There's a flashing light on the highway?
For the lane that merges into the main highway?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you get a green or a yellow light.
Oh.
If it's green, traffic's not that bad. You've got room as long as it's clear. You can just pull right in like we do here.
Oh.
But if it's flashing yellow, that means it's the traffic rush and traffic's backed up and you're sitting, waiting to merge until someone lets you in.
I actually kind of wish we had that here.
Yeah.
Because there's been a lot of almost freak accidents because people just merge right in.
and don't pay attention.
Right. Yeah, we're supposed to move over, but there's times where you just can't
Right.
move over.
Yeah.
So
It was an experience.
I just sound like it.
I'm not sure if I'd repeat it except to visit, but you'll never see me going, hey, let's go hang out there for 5 weeks in that area.
Yeah, no. I'd want to get my permit so I could carry
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
you know, and yeah.
But it wasn't horrible. So I do want to say, anyone from Minnesota watching, I'm not trying to diss your state, because you've got a great state. Every state has its own appeal depending on who you are as a person.
And trust me, where we live, there's a lot of stuff that needs work.
There it is. We fully admit Iowa needs some help.
Yeah, Iowa's not perfect. But I do want to say, people that think Iowa is just flat and just all corn, that's not true.
No, we've got some
Iowa-
hills.
Iowa's definitely not flat.
No.
I can reassure you of that.
We've got hills, we've got some factories, we've got a rich German heritage.
At least in Davenport.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you know. And Iowa's got some diversity of its own.
If you guys want us to share some of the history of Davenport and Iowa, let us know. We'll get some stuff together and we'll share some history with you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we like researching history.
Yeah. It can be anywhere from German history to history of certain factories, anything, the Axe Murder House, some haunted places,
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
We'll research it and bring it to your attention. Just let us know.
Yeah, that was like the one thing me and you both did good in schools was history.
Mostly. I excelled in eating food. That was my favorite class, even though it wasn't a class.
Right, but sometimes it felt like it.
Yeah.
Because you could learn stuff at lunch too.
Oh, yes, you could.
You could learn a lot actually at lunch.
But this video's running long, which we expected. But if you like this, let us know. Like, subscribe, comment, please. Helps out. But if you want to see more videos like this too, let us know and we can probably come up with something.
Yeah,
You
we can find stuff to talk about.
Yeah, it's definitely you just put a camera in front of us and we can just come up with random stuff.
Sometimes it makes sense.
Sometimes it's very controversial to people, but we don't care. That's us.
Right.
But yeah, have a good day and hope you like this, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.